Oh, yeah.
All right, I'd like to call our regular board meeting to order. You all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call, Trustee Marebka, Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Sluice.
Here.
Trustee Sturba.
Here.
Trustee Ham.
Here.
Trustee Bowden.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here at the
Oh, I
same time.
Yeah. 2 votes, right?
That's right.
All right. Item 2 is consent agenda. Just this is, I know, something newer. I'm going to ask you if there's any item that you want taken off of that agenda, the reason why you want to take it off if you thought you were going to vote no against it, and then if nobody wants anything taken off, then I'll entertain questions on any of those. So we've got 4 items. Approval of the minutes, payroll, accounts payable, ordinance for sign variation, and ordinance amending our code for planning and zoning commission turn to service. Are there any of those items that any board member would like to remove from the consent agenda?
I just wanted to hear more about the Park District sign.
Sure.
Doesn't mean I'm against it, I just want to hear more about it.
Yeah. Okay. So the Park District is replacing their current sign that's by the old tennis courts there.
Oh, okay.
It's a wooden sign right now, and they're gonna put a display sign, electronic, yeah,
Yeah, sweet.
yeah.
So it'll be visible from West Street, is that the idea?
Do you want me to speak to that?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Okay. Hi, I'm Barb Sim. I'm the Park District President. The sign currently is on West Street. It's already 2-sided. It's lighted, but it's lighted like a spotlight. So it's going in the exact same spot. It's an LED sign, so it is to be lighted on both sides. It's almost the same exact dimensions. It's about a foot higher than the current sign.
But it's programmable and you'll be able to put your events on there
Be able
and
to put village events on it.
village events on there.
Yeah, it's gonna be, actually, I was playing around with they sent me the pre-program ahead of time. So we can run slides, we can actually access it remotely, so that if, we've got bad weather coming in, we wanna alert the village, residents, we can put that on there. Snow days for school, put all the information on as well. So, it's almost the same dimensions as the sign currently is. The top part of it is about 11.5 inches, so that takes the sign up a little bit higher.
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
What's a sign like that cost?
A lot. We're using our capital improvement fund that we sold the red building on Corning. So we have to use those funds with a certain period of time, $17,000.
You buy insurance against vandalism and stuff like that?
We have insurance. And the way the sign is manufactured, it actually is, it's got some kind of coating on it so that if it gets spray painted, anything like that, it's supposed to be able to stand right out. So we did a lot of research. It took us about 2 years to figure out what we wanted to put in there. But yeah, it is protected. It runs off of I'm not techie, USB thing on the side of the sign. So there's no additional wires running through the park. It runs off Verizon wireless, so it runs off a satellite. Yeah, it's nice. There's already a brick foundation there. We think we need to improve it because it's got some rot. So if anything, we'll change out the bricks that are already there and make it a little bit nicer. Probably match the short knee wall that's on the softball field
What's your projected date of installation?
as soon as it comes in.
Come back order? No.
It's not a back order, but we really I wanted to have it in before the summer hit, and just everything is delayed. So we hope to have it in once the board approves it, but once it comes in, to get it installed all within a couple of weeks after it's received. We have not received confirmation that it is ready, but we're starting to get like the emails on where it is in production and that, so we know it's moving. We initially had thought they would be shipping by July 2nd. This is July 12th, and we haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
It's great.
I think we sent a picture, didn't we?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It is two-sided.
All right,
And
any
it has a new
questions?
logo.
Any questions on the minutes at all? Any corrections or payroll? Any questions about payroll, accounts payable? The ordinance for the terms of service for planning and zoning, it was very complicated. There was 7 different terms of service for the 7 members. Like every year, somebody would come up for renewal. And so I just wanted to make it easier that, you know, every 2 years, we're gonna be appointing 3 or 4 members. So that's the reason behind that one. So if there's no further questions, entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Then moved by trustee Jones, second by trustee Sluse.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Jones?
Yep.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Marevka? Trustee Ham?
Yes.
Trustee Bowden?
Yes.
And trustee Sturba?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, any public comment or questions? Angie?
I don't have, it's pretty much the same update as I gave last time, except for now, instead of telling you that we're going to begin flushing, I'm telling you that we're about to be done with it. We probably have about 1 more week left. Still have waiting for reply from EPA, and then just finishing up the list on construction.
Any questions?
I don't know if it's you guys or if it's Public Works, but there's 2 big potholes on Crawford's right by Fire Pit. I
Okay.
think you guys were doing some work there recently. I'm not sure who's got those.
I think they were service lines.
Sorry?
I think they were service lines.
Service lines? Yeah. So is that you guys?
Okay, if it's our new service lines, then it would be.
Okay.
So, I can check, you said it was in front of the fire pit?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just off of 50 on Crawford.
okay.
Two of
Yeah,
them.
I can,
And they're big.
okay.
And getting deeper.
Okay.
You can come around the corner.
I will, when I leave, I will go by and look, and then
Avoid.
avoid them, yeah, we'll get, yeah, they're from us, we'll get somebody out there ASAP to fix something.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If there's no other public comment, we'll move on to staff and committee reports. Police committee report.
We met May 25th. Was a resident concerned about ATVs and golf carts speeding through the park. Actually, we're left or right.
Yeah.
But, he said he's going to take it up with the park board. We discussed truck enforcement. We talked about the weight laws in Illinois have been unified across all roads to 80,000 pounds. So according to Officer Popek, all roads are 80,000 pounds. So really the issue at hand is the truck route into town, and the chief was going to look at signage and talking to some of the businesses about giving proper directions to these trucks. Adjudication hearings, Beecher, we were going to partner with Beecher, but that's been put on hold. We discussed golf carts, neighborhood vehicles, and an off-road. What is an off-road vehicle that's allowed on public streets? They are not dirt bikes, four-wheelers, and mini bikes, but they are off-road vehicles that are described in detail in our current ordinance. And I think that was all of that. And then police reform, discussed this mental wellness evaluation for the entire police staff. Each police officer has to go through, talk to a psychologist to evaluates their mental well-being, and that as a cost to the village per person. The chief estimates at $1,500 total. That was about it. That far.
I'll just make one clarification. The meeting was July 8th. I think you said May.
Oh, yeah, I guess this is May 25th, yeah, May 8th, I'm sorry, yes.
July.
Thank you. July 8th, yeah.
So, are you gonna change the golf cart ordinance, or was there some
So the
amendments
chief-
that need to be made?
The chief's had a work in progress. He's been modeling Mantinos for several years now, it sounded like, but we're not ready for any changes just yet. But it sounds like it's close.
Did you talk about like having inspections when they get their?
We did talk about that. It's not a current requirement of Pieton.
Right.
Just register the vehicle and get the sticker and you're good to go. So.
You say anything about underage drivers?
Yeah, we did talk about that a bit. I don't know. I guess I didn't take it to be a huge issue. They do stop people that look underage. Not everyone they stop is in fact underage. They just look young. So, but there has been some accidents of kids on it. But it sounded to be a real problem from the discussion I heard. So.
I think what I heard was there's going to be stepped up enforcement. You know, they may have, you know, whatever, but it seems like he got the message that, you know, there's too many carts out there and too many kids possibly riding in them, and he was going to step up the enforcement of those and, you know, have maybe some ideas about changing the ordinance and starting to clamp down.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see if there are, you know, amendments to the ordinance that we try to educate the public, and, you know, I think having a inspection is just a way to educate people on
Right.
what to expect. I don't want it to make it be onerous or anything, but, you know, I think having a golf cart, just like having a car, is a privilege, and, you know, so there's certain obligations that go with that, so. All right, anything else?
I should add that the park, the resident concern at the park seemed to be non-residents. He indicated that it was when there are big events going on, either at the fair or fairgrounds or in the park, people bring these things in and drive them around.
Oh.
So that was what he said. So.
Didn't he had a concern about driving one the wrong way on Blue Devil Drive? Did he bring that up? That's what he brought up to me, but.
We spent more time on the golf carts and that.
Okay. All right, no other questions. Administrative Oversight Committee report.
So the Administrative Oversight Committee met earlier today. Marcy let us know that we have to rebate some of our TIF reimbursement to a business that appealed their taxes, so she's got to process that. We decided to revise the village ordinance to allow for an appointed village clerk. We discussed some new state holidays, and at this point we're not going to make any changes to the holiday schedule for village employees. The state's not mandating it, so we're going to kind of hold off until something happens there. We had a good discussion about comp hours for some of the village employees. We're going to tighten some of the restrictions, I think, on those in the very near future. And the majority of the meeting was spent talking about updates to the village code for liquor and licenses, and we're going to basically clean up a lot of language, move the liquor commissioner stuff around, get it where it's more reasonable, make the licenses easier to understand what they are, and how many licenses are available. So just basically a lot of housekeeping. And that was the majority of it.
And also, we talked about allowing video gaming in liquor stores and gas stations too. That's one of the things.
Packaged liquor sales,
Packaged
yeah,
liquor,
allowing the video games there,
So,
and revising some of the fees that these businesses pay.
okay. So a lot of those things will be on the next board meeting's agenda then for consideration. Any questions at all? Okay, now we'll go to the engineer report. Troy?
Yes, for West Street, the north half mile from Corning to Joliet, the IOP project, that resurfacing is now supposed to start this Thursday. Well, they'll start with removing the concrete, and then they'll be doing replacements Friday into next week. So it starts with the concrete, and then paving will follow. For the MFT project, we're still getting the contracts finalized back and forth to the contractor and you guys eventually, so I'm just anticipating that starting later in July. We have a pre-con meeting set up next week. And then for the Elborn storm sewer project, now that we have the analysis done, we are working on options for costs for different flood events, just so you guys can have an idea before we move forward with or finish up the plans.
Okay. Questions for the engineer?
I have a question. When do you anticipate the West Street project will be completed by, Troy?
Let's see. I think it was a 35-day working contract.
35?
But you have to factor in, just days of the week and then factor in weather. So I would think it would be done by probably in September. Unless there's issue. I think they'll have the paving done in August, but then there'll be, cleanup and restoration.
All right, on to my comments. What you got there?
Can I talk about code stuff when you're done?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Just want to give you more of an in-depth update on some code projects that we have going on. You get a report from Joe and it just shows you some of the numbers, so a little bit more detail. So with some of the purchases of the older buildings in downtown, which is great, the building department and code is trying to be a little bit more proactive, working with them, so in case they need to start any renovations, they're doing it within code. So we've been reaching out to those new owners and just asking what their plans are going to be. So just as a reminder, if you're doing any renovations, just call for a building permit, or if you want to know more information about what might be required, just give us a call. Joe's creating a manual for code operations and procedures in kind of some succession planning, so in case he's gone, then there'd be a smooth transition to a new employee. So we appreciate him doing all that work, and it will make projects that we're working on just go a little bit smoother if there's ever any transition. He's also working on some brochures for common projects like sheds, signs, and fences, so we're just trying to be proactive with residents and avoid contractors being non-compliant. So these brochures are guidelines. They're not the whole ordinance, but they're kind of the highlights of the ordinance. And it helps people when they're trying to plan their project, what they need to do for the village side. Joe is also working on the vacant building and lot registry. So he's been out kind of doing the inventory on his patrols. So we're compiling that list, and we'll review it against the criteria that's in the code that you approved, and we'll make a determination that it is indeed vacant, and we'll require them to register. We'll send them the form and have them register. Of course, he's been dealing with numerous weed complaints. It's just the season. It's just part of the job. 206 North 2nd Street, we've posted that dwelling is unfit for human occupancy. Safe Built did a scheduled inspection, and we're waiting for the report on that to determine our next step. 526 Schroeder had a roof issue. They pulled a permit about quite a bit over a year ago. The court found in favor of the village and did a default judgment for $750 per violation. That owner pulled a permit, and we're working with them to get the information we need to make sure that the structure is safe to put the roof back on. And we did get information that it possibly is in foreclosure though at this time, and we're checking with the owner to see if any plans have changed or if he can continue with his the renovation and get that property shored up. Working with Cleveland Steel on a large dirt pile that was from another construction project, but it's causing some runoff issues into the stormwater. So we're working with Cleveland Steel to get that removed. The mayor had received a complaint some time ago from a resident on the blight that he noticed on Blaine Street. So Joe's been working very diligently to get a few of those vacant properties addressed, and we've made quite a bit of progress. We've had an owner that's been cooperative and removed all the refuse that's been dumped in the backyard. It just looked like an actual dump, but they've been cleaning it out. And there's also another home that was basically abandoned by the homeowner, but we've been working with the homeowner to try and see if there's any mortgage assistance programs that would help, or if we can find an investor to take over the mortgage and do renovation. So those are some really significant accomplishments in the code arena that I wanted to point out to you. 117 Corning, the owner's been very cooperative in addressing issues with the village on like damaged fence, weeds, and some lighting that needs to be addressed. So we're continuing discussions with that owner. The village staff, a few village staff will be at the Pieton car show on July 31st with an informational booth. So we hope that you'll stop by and talk to us. And this is not a comprehensive list, FYI, just some highlights. So.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the administrator?
Anything new on the abandoned new construction out east?
He has an active permit, and he's just going very, very, very slow. And things are happening. We just wish it was happening a little faster. So windows are in, doors are on, electric, ComEd came out and hooked up the electric, so there could be work done inside. So slowly making progress there.
Thank you. A couple of my notes, heads up a couple upcoming village events. As Amy pointed out, the car show's coming up, that's July 31st. There is another blood drive at the Legion that the village is sponsoring on August 9th, and then again on October 27th. Update on the 88th Avenue easement. There has been some progress with that, and at least things are moving. People are talking to each other, so we're hoping, for a resolution of that soon. Second Street Saloon, as I talked to you last time, we did get some bids for demolition. We're awaiting the bids for asbestos removal, and once we get those, we'll kind of try to brainstorm on what we can do with that property. Public Works is looking into installing a couple of small bike racks by the ice cream shops and the coffee shop. It's just, there's been some concerns about people just dumping their bikes on the sidewalk or leaning them against buildings, and so since we'd like to maybe put a couple of bike racks up. The administrative center's been getting an upgrade in their computer workstations. The new server is going to be installed coming up this week, next week.
I don't have a date yet.
Okay, so
It's,
soon.
it's ordered.
It's something we've been talking about for a long time. We have one server in the police department, one in the admin, and we're gonna just get one that's gonna be able to do both. And then we're also gonna be changing our email to Office 365. One of the items that we approved in the payroll, if you notice, was an additional investment in the Will County CED, which stands for
Center for Economic
Development. we made that additional investment so that I could be on the executive board of that. It's a public-private group, so there's people from municipalities, county government, and then there's also developers on this group, and they are charged with bringing development into Will County. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to get the village's message out there that, you know, we are interested in development, you know, the right kind of development, and so that's why we made that additional investment. So I will keep you updated when I go to those meetings, and, you know, hopefully something will come of that. It's an update on the American Recovery Plan Act funds. We have not received any of those yet. As you know, or may not know, the village is gonna receive around $500,000. The state of Illinois has not requested the funds yet from the government, and they are going to, then we are gonna get the funds from the state. I don't know why they haven't, but they haven't. So, and we're gonna get it in 2 installments, one this year and one next year. We've talked about spending that money. We can spend it on revenue loss replacement. So there's some formula that we have to go through to see how much money that we've lost because of the pandemic. And that's something that we'll be able to figure out over the next 4 years. So every calendar year end, we'll run numbers through, and if we've had a loss, we'll be able to apply some of that money into our general fund, like to pay for police or payroll. The other thing that we can spend the money on that we talked about is stormwater projects. So we're looking into Conrad Street has a stormwater issue, and that's probably the project that we're gonna be spending it on. In front of you, we've printed up, I'd like to get some ideas from you guys. I mean, I hope that we're going in the right direction as a village, but I'd like to get a little more direction from you guys. I would like you to just come up with something that you would like to see, what you would think that to improve the village, what would you like to see done, you know, in the next year? And then also try to think out a little bit farther and what you'd like to see in 3 years. So, you know, you can do it by writing it down. You can, you know, Amy's gonna come up with a little survey monkey thing she'll send out to everybody, and you can just do it that way too if you like. Or if you like write things out on paper, you can do it there too. So I just want to kind of get an idea of what you all think, and then at a board meeting coming up, we'll kind of tabulate kind of what people's ideas are and kind of see what we can, what we should all be working on. So I just want to make sure we're all heading in the right direction, or the same direction. I think that's about it. I did want to recognize David Rock. He said he might come tonight sometime, so if he does pop in, we'll have a formal recognition. But Dave has been our chairman of the pension board for many years. He is going to be moving out of the village to North Carolina, I think. And so I wanted to recognize him for his years of service. He's resigning that position. So I want to thank Dave for that. He's done a great job with that. So. Any questions for me? If not, we'll move on. Old business, we don't have any. New business, motion to approve special event permit application for Apple Studios, Louisiana LLC on Wednesday, July 14th, from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., filming visual effects in the downtown for a new Apple movie. here to tell us what you want to do.
Love to.
Oh, great.
So I'm Mark Meeks, location manager. This is the longest. Taylor White. Yeah, so what we have doing, we have a show that films predominantly in Louisiana, New Orleans, and true storyline. They have budgeted to bring create a second unit, what we call a small splinter unit, to do visual effects work. Is when characters largely are you see them driving, you kind of, well, I don't think that looks quite real. That the stuff going on in the background outside the windows, we shoot those as visual effects plates, as we call them, which are just camera at work. But we have some pretty elaborate cameras mounted to like a Porsche Cayenne that has a telescopic arm that can swing around and get all kinds of wonderful footage. And then we do that approach, and then we do an approach where sometimes the camera's in a car, and we have a stand-in driver kind of mimicking the real actor that would be in that car, shooting over his shoulder like his POV, coming down the street, and then they'll do various camera mounts on that picture car that character is supposed to be driving with different angles all over. So for this town, we would do a mixture of all three of those approaches. So we would do a couple of passes with the one elaborate telescopic arm. We would bring the car back over to a rigging lot, mount cameras, do that approach, and then the third and final version. So it's a little tedious. The actual filming takes 60 seconds to get down second and make a right-hand turn onto Main Street, and the shot would end right there. Impact on the community, hopefully, is not too bad. We've made some progress with your merchants and neighbors downtown. I thought I would, if you don't have it, distribute the letter that we have distributed to some locals along with the overhead. It's just mostly the technical information that I've just spoken about, as well as the times and dates. You right now.
Well, you can give it to them.
I think I have one more slide. Thank you. Can you receive one as well? So we are currently looking at, there's no revisions to this letter in terms of times. We would like to arrive Wednesday morning. We apparently have a pretty clear window of opportunity in terms of the weather. We would like to go into the Railroad Street lot, the lot which would be the furthest northeast in town, to do the rigging. We would have crew cars come in and park there. We'll be landing 5:30 to 6 to 6:15, start rigging by 6:30 with the hopes of making the first run around 7 a.m., 7:15. We've spoken with the merchants about it, asking if they could please park. Our show is 1994, so we're trying to avoid seeing contemporary vehicles. To park in the Railroad Street lots or in the side streets are much less important to us, except for just the immediate intersects. But it's mostly looking straight south and then west when they make that turn, and stops essentially in front of your coffee shop down there. We think we have to be out of town by 11 to 11:30 to meet a pretty ambitious schedule we have when we're driving on farm roads, which are all in Kankakee County. In Will County, this is the only filming we have slated. We've spoken with, we've made financial deal with the gentleman who's got the space.
120 West Main.
120 West Main. Rick, who has the ice cream shop, is going to move, we're paying him to move his tables and chairs out in front of his facility, and we'll be paying the woman who has the other ice cream shop with the bigger setup on Main Street, just the tables and chairs, and we're going to try to cheat the tall concrete posts. With no intentions of moving those, or could move those. So we'll take somewhat of a blocking vehicle, like a truck, one of our period trucks, and bring those in, as the car goes by, so that material can remain on the street. And then it'll all come back, and we'll be done.
And we'll all buy ice cream.
For the whole crew, right?
Yeah.
The other impact is that they would need some village staff too, because they want to remove the flowers still.
Yes, Public Works. So the only request, as far as alteration, is just the hanging flower baskets, which, from what most of us remember, 1993 to 94 wasn't quite the thing. So, in the fact that our visual effects department prefers to get as clean a slate as possible. One of the appeal to Pieton was, it feels almost like a movie backlot. It's very clean in terms of the storefronts. There's not a lot of neon signs and getting clearances and permissions from signage like you get in a lot of towns. You have as you're going south, the T-bone with the block, the street in front of you, and it just feels like you get a lot of production value, because everywhere the camera looks, it's getting buildings that are not overly complicated for our visual effects department to film. So, very nondescript, very clean. The American flags can stay. It's just the flower baskets. That's our request. We've told people, if there's anybody, if they're residential's up ahead, if you have elderly, there's somebody, my car has to be there. I'm sorry about doing that time frame, my car has to be there. No problem. We'll just use one of our own. We're bringing in about 15 of our period picture cars, from mostly the 80s. Bring those in. What we do, use them as a blocking vehicle to help just kind of the camera diminish the view of that more contemporary vehicle. Facilitate anybody who needs to come down. I think the idea is that there's more or less a 3-point closure. Obviously on the north side of 2nd Street, she goes south, and then just the 2 ends on Main Street, at essentially Railroad Street, on the inside of the train tracks, and then in front of the coffee shop on, that next side street. First, yeah, First. Not particularly complicated. We have more complications over in Grant Park for holding traffic. Smaller town, but we're shooting straight. There's a lot of intersects coming in at Grant Park, so we have 7 law enforcement over there. So, we like the fact that it doesn't have just a busy thoroughfare coming right in off of a major state route, and it felt a little more quiet. The goal was to do it early in the morning before a lot of the shops really begin to kind of open up and start driving in. So the goal is to be, you see our tail lights right as the shops are starting, and it's 10:30, 11. I want my parking spot right in front where I'm gonna park.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are you gonna make us look good?
Yes, actually the show is very good. The scripts are very good. And now, I say that because we're not shooting Pieton for Pieton, per se.
Okay.
I hate to say it, this is supposed to be,
Indiana?
Indiana. It's, what's the town? It's,
Forget the name.
LaPorte, sorry. This is supposed to be the driving, no, I'm sorry. This is Wabash. Grant Park is LaPorte. This is Wabash, Indiana.
Is there gonna be credit in the movie that this is Pieton though?
Sometimes we do, sometimes it very, well, it's a good quote, because you do see those in credits at the end of, if you watch all the way to the end.
It'll be our claim to fame.
Pardon me?
It'll be our claim to fame.
Yeah, this town deserves to have a much broader profile than these visual effects shots we're doing.
Thank you.
I love this town.
I agree.
Visually, it should be put on the map. I came back here, I had scouted, we had looked all over in the year 2011, we were shooting a movie that ended up being shot in Plano and Far West. But we did borrow one of your farmhouses in Pieton, that we took that exact farmhouse and rebuilt that whole farmhouse out west to duplicate it, because it was so perfect. It sits right off the interstate over there.
88
Yeah.
That's correct.
This is a great looking town. This is I'm a little shocked that, but I'm not a local. I'm essentially out of Los Angeles, do a lot of traveling, but now Taylor here, as he moves up the ranks, he's gonna be bringing plenty of production down.
Oh, yeah, I'm bringing a Western here. Oh, yeah.
A nice 30s prohibitionary gangster
Totally.
movie.
Oh, without a doubt.
There you go. All
I
right.
have as much money.
Any other questions from the board? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the special event permit application.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by trustee Ham, seconded by trustee Sluse.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Ham,
Yes.
trustee Sluse.
Yes.
Trustee Marevka, trustee Jones,
Yes.
trustee Bowden,
Yes.
and trustee Sturba.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Sweet.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice to meet everyone.
Yeah,
Nice
thank
to
you.
meet you.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right. Next item on the agenda, motion to accept design engineering services from Robinson Engineering for North Railroad Street, south block from Main Street to North Street Road in the parking lot. So this is a continuation of our desire to redo the parking lot on Railroad Street. To do that, we need to have engineering done to know exactly what we have to do there. So we have the design, but now we have to get into the nitty-gritty. So this is gonna include a survey to figure out exactly where property lines are. It's gonna include core samples of the road to figure out, you know, what kind of road we have to, you know, build, how much infrastructure we have to do. It's gonna include, you know, figuring out where sewers are, water lines, storm sewers. And in addition to that, I asked Troy to give us quotes, and as long as somebody's gonna be here surveying that section, and they survey the rest of downtown, and then also do core samples of the rest of downtown. So again, we'll know what we have, so when we're talking about, you know, throwing around these numbers, millions of dollars, you know, exactly, we'll have some idea of, you know, if that makes sense or not. So, the total for all, to do all that, came out to be, what was it, 80,000, and then I asked Troy to give us a good customer discount, and he knocked $5,000 off if we do all the projects at once, so. And this money would be coming out of our business development district funds.
Will this include the land from the back of the buildings on Railroad Street all the way to the tracks?
That's the idea,
From Main to north?
yes. That's south.
Oh, if we do the whole, yeah, if we do everything. Yeah. It'll be all the streetscape streets.
So if we do, the survey will be, and the core samples, right, if we do everything, would be Main Street, you know, from First to the railroad, Second Street from Main to Crawford, and North Street from Second to Railroad, and then all of Railroad.
And all, and all.
Questions?
We have the balance in that fund right now to pay this out, right? Yeah.
How long is it gonna take you to do this, Troy? Or your guys?
This would probably be one that we would, we get started on doing the survey this summer, but then it's gonna be one where we're gonna design it probably over the fall, winter, and then we can get it bid probably early next year, and then it can be constructed, you know, spring or summer next year. The only thing that can throw a wrench in that is the railroad, but I know you have a lease with them, but we'll have to do permitting with the railroad. Sometimes they take a while for the reviews, never really sure what they're gonna require, but that's like that's a good thing about this, it's the only really thing for permitting, it appears.
So
Will
the
this
rough
set the-
timeline is we'd start this sometime in the spring or summer next year.
For construction?
Yeah.
Yeah, if everything goes smooth with the railroad, that would be the case.
Will this set the tone for the remainder from North Street to Crawford? I mean, the design, will it just blend right, same thing?
Yeah.
Continuing north?
If that's part, I don't know exactly what's part of the streetscape for the future, but it would be the similar type parking lot and road for railroad to the north, I would assume.
If there's no other questions, entertain a motion to approve.
A motion.
Second.
Been
Can
moved
you,
by, go ahead.
The agenda item just says from Main Street to North Street, but if you just make the motion that it would be for all the entire sections, for the engineering at least, not the part that you just mentioned, but just if that makes any sense, what I just said.
It would be like, the survey would be all the streets.
Mhm.
The engineering is for just the railroad south block.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to what Troy said.
Okay. And there was a second. Okay, so moved by trustee Bowden, second by trustee Jones to approve engineering for North Railroad Street from Main Street to North Street and survey services for the entire downtown streetscape area.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Bowden,
Yes.
trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Sluse,
Yes.
trustee Marevka, trustee Ham,
Yes.
trustee Sturba.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carried.
All right. Item C is a motion to approve revised scope for Wilmington Pieton Road Sidewalk Project and engineering design. So, obviously, this is something that Pieton's been talking about for, ever since McDonald went in 25 years ago. And, you know, I think a lot of us are just, you know, it has to get done. So, Troy has laid out a plan that, since we didn't get the grant to do this, and we have to pay for it with our own money, I asked him to reduce the scope of it from, and make the sidewalk go from Meadow Road to Gull Landings. As you can see, he estimated that, what was it, 120?
125.
125,000. And that includes, you know, having some flashing lights on Wilmington Road, depending on what Will County requires us to do. This also depends on us being able to use the existing sidewalks that are out there by Casey's. So what we would be approving if we went ahead with this is, again, just the engineering for this. And then, once the engineering's done, we'll be able to get, you know, a better idea of the exact price and be able to go out to bid with that, so. That'll cover it?
Yeah, and I mean, this is a good step, if you do this, and then in the future you wanna extend it further to the McDonald's, or, you know, go all the way to Ratchy, it's, at least you gotta start, so. For the main port, getting the crossing's the big thing.
Right.
So, we just, Will County, when I talked to them in the past, seemed like they're, you know, on board with the crossing, it just,
They're not gonna make us build an overpass?
I sure hope not. I know they mentioned flashing beacons, when I originally talked to them, it was, you know, gonna be at Rathje possibly, so. I think I did bring this up to him, and I don't think he had, an issue, but they won't say anything till they see the plans.
Okay.
So the money to pay for this was something that we would have to just take out of our savings from the, you know, Aqua proceeds, so, just so everybody's aware of that.
So are we voting on the whole project, or are we voting on, what are we voting on?
I think we're
Dollar-wise.
just voting on the design of this, right?
Like the scope of how to design it.
More than, yeah, if this is kind of the project that we want,
Okay.
then Troy's gonna Okay.
we'll move, we already started engineering and our survey's all done. It's just, if we know this, then this is what we move forward.
How long do you think it would take from start to finish?
For construction, or for
construction.
design?
Construction.
Construction, this might be a month or less. It should be pretty simple. There's really not much. It's all concrete work,
Including dealing with WillDOT?
No, that was in the design. He was talking about construction.
Right.
So.
And that's if we get cooperation for easements.
Right, cooperation reasons.
What we're in the process of reaching out to those businesses. I mean, it's really not a big impact, and we will promise to maintain their sidewalk, so hopefully that goes well. But that could add time to it.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
Moved by trustee Ham, second by trustee Sturba to approve the revised scope for the Wilmington Pieton Road sidewalk project.
Roll call vote. Trustee Ham,
Yes.
trustee Sturba,
Yep.
trustee Sluse,
Yes.
trustee Marevka, trustee Jones,
Yes.
trustee Bowden,
Yes.
All right. Questions of the press? Okay. Any other correspondence, communications, questions off of the board?
About one thing. I just have one thing I
Yeah,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
ask the board. This book that's sitting right here is our code of ordinances in the paper form. We also have them available online. We buy supplements to keep this book up to date once we codify the ordinances. We purchased 15 copies from the codification company. I was told that the reason we purchased so many is because some trustees have these books at home. And I just want to get a sense of, Karen and I met with, or had a conference call with the company, and we're looking to make some just minor tweaks and get, we didn't know if we could reduce the number of copies that we get for these books. There's probably 5 or 6 in-house here, but if you want an actual book, then, you can get everything you need online.
And you can search.
And you can search. These get out of date real quick. The only other thing is that we only update the online code at certain times too, and we're looking at, increasing that frequency so that we can keep the code as up to date as possible on the website for residents and anybody else. Okay, so I'll reduce the number if nobody wants a paper book.
And of course, the paper's always available here if you
Right.
want to come,
Right.
look at the pages. But yeah, if you want to keep a paper one, just make sure you talk to me. All right. There's nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Moved by trustee Sluse, second by trustee Ham.
roll call vote. Trustee Sluse,
Yes.
trustee Ham,
Yes.
trustee Marevka, trustee Bowden,
Yes.
trustee Jones,
Yes.
and trustee Sturba.
Yep.
All right, thank you, everybody.